Most people force themselves to stick to a routine for consistency, but what if I told you that the only way to build a lasting yoga habit is to stop fighting your willpower? After helping hundreds of busy professionals quiet their racing minds, I discovered that inconsistency isn't a flaw. It's actually just a biological setting that you can reset in just days. We all have this hidden wellness thermostats that's somewhere inside of us that's actively sabotaging our progress right now as you listen to this video. And unless you know the specific steps to reset it, your yoga practice will never actually stick. And maybe you started yoga this year thinking, oh my gosh, it's finally the year that I get to give this to myself. The first few days felt amazing, your body feels a lot lighter, you've been feeling more calm and centered. But then just a few weeks later, maybe it's mid-February or whatever, and life happens. Work gets really hectic, you fall sick, maybe a family member really needs you. And that stillness that you worked so hard to prioritize now just evaporates the moment that your routine just got disrupted. And you tell yourself, I don't have the willpower, I'm just not disciplined enough to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do it before my kids wake up. But that's not the problem. What if you aren't the problem at all? The truth is, you've been fighting a subconscious program that's designed to keep you in your comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is not really helping you and is actually keeping you in a stress state. I'm Sushmita, but you can call me Sushi, and I help busy minds quiet their racing thoughts through the power of Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. And so if you find yourself constantly hitting this glass ceiling with your progress and you want a structured path to break through this ceiling safely, then my Yoga Mastery program is linked down below. It's designed to help people exactly like you navigate these exact mental blocks. But for now, let's dive into how you can locate that internal thermostat and turn down the heat a little bit on that self-sabotage. If you've ever set a New Year's resolution only to watch it fizzle out by February, you're definitely not alone. Research shows that the vast majority of resolutions end up failing, and some studies indicate that around 80% of them are abandoned by the second week of Feb. So we promise ourselves that we'll exercise more, that we'll eat healthier, that we'll finally make mental stillness a priority, and that we'll finally do it this year. And we start with this huge burst of fresh energy, but the motivation almost always crashes into this big giant wall of reality and life problems. And that's when this predictable cycle of guilt and negative self-talk begins to kick in. I know I've been there, so I'm not judging you at all. And it makes it even harder to try again, get on the mat, go to a teacher, and start from scratch. And we blame our crazy schedules, we blame our kids, and we think that the answer is just to try a little bit harder, to wake up a little bit earlier, to force ourselves to put on our running shoes and get out there. But pushing harder against a system that's already strained is a recipe for burnout, not a breakthrough. Because the truth is, our behavior doesn't actually change just because the calendar flips to a new year or just because you decided, okay, I'm going to be a yogi person. And the inability to stick with a resolution almost has nothing to do with your willpower. It has everything to do with this powerful subconscious system that's designed to keep you exactly where you are. Because this is what's familiar. And this isn't a personal failure. All of us have this. It's a biological feature. We have these identities and these self-protective mechanisms so that we can evolve, so that we can retain our sense of self in a world that's always changing. And understanding it is the first step to finally being able to work with it. Imagine that thermostat in your house. You like it at a comfortable 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 degrees Celsius. And if it gets too hot, then the AC starts up. And if it gets too cold, then the heat kicks in. And the goal for the thermostat is to always maintain a stable temperature. And your mind and body have a very similar system. Now, the author Gay Hendricks essentially calls this the upper limit problem, where we seem to have this internal thermostat for how much success, how much happiness, and how much well-being we're allowed to feel. And this thermostat, that thing inside of us, has a set point, a level of wellness that your nervous system knows is familiar and therefore safe. Let's say your baseline temperature is this low-grade stress, this mental clutter, and random Korean beauty rituals that you put in there because that's your self-care. Now that's your normal. That's your baseline. Your nervous system is used to that baseline temperature. Now you suddenly introduce a new healthy resolution like I'm going to start a daily yoga practice. Suddenly you feel calmer, you feel more centered, you feel more energetic, and you're literally turning up the heat in your life, going from that usual 70 degree or 21 degree to like 85 degrees, let's say. It just gets hotter and hotter. And your conscious mind, it loves it. You feel good, you know you're on track, you're like using your habit tracker, and everything is going well. But your subconscious mind, whose main job is literally to keep you safe, starts to sound this alarm. It sees this new heightened state of well-being is almost like a strange deviation from the norm, that who you know yourself to be. And so it flags it as a potential threat. So what does it do? It turns on the air conditioning. And it's that self-sabotage that kicks in right when you're doing all of the right things. You're going to the gym, you're eating healthy, and it shows up as that sudden wave of fatigue that you still can't get over. You feel like somehow, everything is busy, life gets hectic, and it does all of these things to pull you away from actually doing the thing that you decided is good for you. And so these aren't random events. This isn't just like, your life sucks and everything is out to get you. These are predictable subconscious attempts by your own internal thermostat to pull you back to the temperature it knows, the identity that it's familiar with. And your body is just trying to keep you safe. So why is your wellness thermostat set so low to begin with? To figure that out, we've got to look beneath the surface, but I'm not a psychologist. This is just a model that I'm borrowing from psychology, so do your own research. But essentially, psychologists use this iceberg model to explain the human mind. So about 10% of the iceberg, the visible part above water, is the thing that we see, and then there's this massive hidden part that lies underneath. The visible tip of the iceberg is your conscious choice. It's your choice to roll out your yoga mat, it's your choice to order a salad, it's the choice to set an alarm to wake up in the morning and get your practice in. This is the part of you that you can see on the surface, and all of the actions that you're doing, this is the part that others see as well. But just below the surface are your automatic habits and triggers. This is you grabbing your phone the second that you feel bored. This is the automatic yes to another glass of wine when you know you have yoga the next morning. These are those deeply ingrained routines and habits that can easily hijack any of your best intentions. And when you go a little bit deeper, you'll find the core wounds and the limiting beliefs that were formed often when you were just a kid and that you have not much control over. Maybe you look silly in a dance class and your teacher told you that you're just uncoordinated. Maybe it's just like, I'm just not an athletic person, was this belief that you had in school and that just stuck with you because you were like the intellectual kind. And these beliefs create powerful currents that then end up steering our whole being, the whole iceberg, because that's the 90%. And at the deepest, darkest base of all of this is your core identity and your biggest fears. Now, this is the part of you that might believe that if you get too healthy, if you get too happy, if you're glowing and you're actually there in that, version of you that you want to be, then maybe you'll leave all the people that you love behind. I'm not sure what it is, but you really have to dig deep and find out what these subconscious fears are. And it's the subconscious fear that actually sabotages your progress, because it's the part of you that sends these danger signals to your nervous system that's only ever known the buzz of anxiety. And so when you try to do something different as an action on the surface, there's this whole chunk of you that's lying underneath, that's deeply buried, and that actually doesn't feel like it's worthy of a life filled with joy and ease. And so when your resolution fails, it's because you're trying to steer the whole iceberg using this teeny tiny bit on top without dealing with the colossal weight beneath it. And you can't force the tip to go one way when 90% is going the other way. And real change doesn't happen on the surface. It happens when you start working with the weight below. So what's the solution? How can we give you the true reset that your body so badly wants? Firstly, don't fight your own programming with just brute force. The goal is to gently and consistently recalibrate that wellness thermostat that we discovered inside of you so that it hardly notices that there's any change. You drop the temperature little bit by little bit, or you raise the temperature little bit by little bit so that there isn't that jarring response. And you have to teach your nervous system that a new, higher temperature is okay, that your body is safe. And this is where a practice like Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga becomes so powerful, not just as a workout and it's a powerful way to get strong and flexible, but as a way to truly, really regulate your nervous system. The power of Ashtanga Yoga is in its structure. The set sequence of poses that never change, linked to a specific style of breathing that we call the 𝐸𝐸 breath, creates a predictable and rhythmic experience for your body. And that predictability is incredibly calming for the nervous system. So instead of shocking your nervous system with like something new and something novel and something cool each and every time, you're sending a clear, consistent signal every single day to yourself when you show up on your mat. You're saying to yourself, we're safe, the movement is safe, the breath is safe, we're at home, we're not doing anything radical. And when you consciously slow and control your breath in this way using the 𝐸𝐸 breath, you're actively training your body to handle feelings of peace and feelings of well-being and feelings of calm without like just quickly ejecting out of the experience because you're like putting yourself in like, a meditation retreat for 10 days. Trust me, it's much easier to do this in movement while you're in asanas than it is to do it completely still. I tried that for years and it didn't work. And each conscious breath is like manually nudging your internal thermostat a little bit up by like 1 tiny degree. And you're expanding your capacity to feel good without setting off those self-sabotage alarms inside of you. And so the practice stops being about nailing that hard pose and it starts being more about how can you build this new baseline for yourself of how you feel inside and have that be comfortable and safe. Resetting your thermostat isn't a quick fix. It's a daily practice. So here's 4 real-world strategies that you can start to use right off the bat today. First strategy is consistency over intensity. So forget about doing 90-minute all or nothing practices. That's out of the window. Don't even do that anymore. That's like cranking up the thermostat from like 60 to 90, wondering why the system blows a fuse. So think of gentle, consistent exposure to the same exact routine because this is going to be key. So even if it's just 15 sun salutations in the morning, this will send a clear, consistent signal to your body. The second strategy is to reframe the failure signals. So when that wave of fatigue hits or that new shiny object of like, maybe I should do like a Zumba class on a Thursday evening and maybe I should start Pilates, don't see it as a sign that you're failing. Recognize it for what it is. It's proof that you're actually recalibrating, that you're outside of your comfort zone and your thermostat is being challenged. And so all of those old system programming, it's just pushing back to keep you safe. Just say to yourself, I see that, that's my upper limit. This is why my body's trying to protect me. It's trying to do something else. It's trying to like wiggle off from doing yoga. And this simple shift will move you from a place of like self-judgment to curiously just observing, I wonder where this is coming from. And that resistance that you're feeling is actually a sign that you're on your right track. The third strategy is to anchor with affirmations. Now, the stories at the bottom of the iceberg, at the very bottom, are incredibly powerful, but you can rewrite new ones. I used to think that affirmations are absolute BS. I did not believe them, and I would actually laugh at people who actually did them. But then I realized affirmations aren't just like pretty sentences that you say in front of the mirror until you actually believe it. It's really noticing what your limiting beliefs are and then replacing those limiting beliefs with new ones. And it's scientific. It's not like, you just read out things that are not true. And when an old thought like, oh, this is so boring, I'm just too busy for this, all these things come up, you're going to gently come back and you're going to say to yourself, I'm expanding my capacity for stillness, breath by breath, and I'm doing this practice for me. And this isn't some fluffy, positive thinking BS. You're literally intervening to rewrite the beliefs and keep that internal thermostat really in its like new baseline instead of set low and at that set point that you cannot change. The fourth strategy is to observe and expand. So the next time you feel a moment of genuine peace, you actually feel like, wow, I got on the mat and I feel really good, whether it's in your practice or whether it's in your day, it doesn't matter. Don't just rush past it and be like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, I achieved that, now let's do the next thing. Stop. Notice it, savor it, and just take it in for one extra breath. By consciously holding on to that feeling, you're training your nervous system to get comfortable with this new state of calmness. And you're showing it that peace and joy and happiness aren't threats that are meant to be neutralized, but it's like a new home that you're trying to settle into. And so the reason that your resolutions are always seeming to fail isn't because you're broken. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack willpower. It's because you've been fighting a subconscious system that's expertly designed to keep you safe, keep you in that familiar zone of comfort, even if that zone of comfort is actually stressful and it keeps your life like unfulfilling and unhappy. So true lasting change doesn't come from a resolution that's built on guilt or resolution that's built on this fleeting moment of just feeling really motivated. It comes from understanding your own internal wiring and finally working with it, not against it. And so it comes from gently and patiently and with time showing your nervous system that a new higher level of well-being is safe and is actually good for you. So that's all I have for you today. If you want a guided way to start this process, there is a link in the description below to join my Yoga Mastery program. First, you'll have to set up a call with me so that I can see if we're a good fit and if I can actually genuinely help you. But I would love to help you get you started on this yoga journey and without feeling that sense of initial overwhelm and actually getting consistent with the practice. So make sure that you click that link below. But even otherwise, if you're enjoying these videos and you want me to keep making more of these videos, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It tells the algorithm that I need to make more videos for free. So please do that. Share this with a friend. Comment down below letting me know what you're struggling with. Thank you so much for watching till the very end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.